The shuttle doesn't slow down. There's no ceremony. No farewell transmission. No final evaluation. Just a mechanical voice counting down. Exile protocol confirmed. Kale Mercer laughs once, short and hollow, as gravity disappears beneath him. Then the launch bay floor drops. He is fired into the void like waste. The capsule tumbles through atmosphere minutes later, metal screaming as it tears against friction. Warning lights flash red across the cramped interior. External temperature critical. Hull integrity declining. The United Systems emblem still glows faintly on the wall. The same emblem that stamped his file. Genetic redundancy. Suboptimal variance. Resource inefficient. They called it mercy. A second chance on an unclaimed ruin world. No return transport. No network privileges. No reinstatement pathway. Just exile dressed as opportunity. The impact nearly kills him. The capsule slams into cracked stone and skids across a wasteland of metallic sand before flipping onto its side. The world outside is silent. No wind, no wildlife, no atmospheric movement beyond a faint electric hum. Kale hangs in his restraints, blood dripping from his brow. He waits. No rescue beacon activates. Of course it doesn't. He cuts himself free and drops to the tilted floor. The hatch protests before finally splitting open with a shriek. Heat rolls in, dry, artificial heat. The sky above is wrong. Not cloudy. Not clear. Structured. Faint hexagonal patterns shimmer far above like something once held the atmosphere in place, and failed. He steps out onto the surface. The planet was labeled an archaeological hazard, remnants of a precursor civilization older than any known species. The systems banned settlement here. Too unstable. Too unpredictable. Too dangerous. Perfect place to discard someone unwanted. Kale stares at the endless field of half-buried metallic spires stretching toward the horizon. They jut from the ground at unnatural angles, smooth and seamless, as if grown rather than built. They sent me to a graveyard, he mutters. Then the ground hums. It's subtle at first, a vibration under his boots. He freezes. The hum deepens. Metallic sand begins sliding away from something massive beneath the surface. A line appears in the earth. Perfectly straight. Perfectly deliberate. Kale stumbles back as the sand collapses inward, revealing dark alloy beneath, untouched by corrosion, unmarred by time. The air changes. Pressure shifts. A pulse radiates outward from the exposed structure. The spires across the horizon flicker. One by one, faint blue lines illuminate along their surfaces. Kale's breath catches. No, he whispers. The exile shuttle behind him powers down completely. Dead. But the planet? The planet is waking up. A deep resonance rolls across the wasteland like a heartbeat returning after centuries of silence. More sand falls away. More lines of light ignite. The straight seam in the ground splits open, not violently, but smoothly, like an eyelid. And from the darkness below, something ancient begins to rise. Not broken. Not abandoned. Waiting. A surge of energy ripples through the air and passes directly through Kale's body. For a brief second, he feels examined. Measured. Considered. The lights stabilize. The humming stops. Silence returns, but it's no longer empty. A single line of glowing script appears across the newly revealed surface. Not in any language he knows. Yet he understands it. Biological anomaly detected. Kale stares at the words, heart pounding. A second line forms. Deviation acceptable. The ground trembles again. Far beyond the horizon, more structures begin lighting up. The dead world exhales. And for the first time since he was cast out, Kale Mercer is not alone. The ground does not close. It widens. The seam in the alloy surface spreads outward in perfect symmetry, forming a circular aperture beneath Kale's feet. He stumbles back as light floods upward from the depths, not harsh, not blinding. Measured. Controlled. Intentional. The metallic spires across the wasteland now glow steadily, lines of blue energy racing between them in geometric patterns that stretch to the horizon. The dead sky above shimmers, hexagonal fractures knitting themselves together. The planet is repairing itself. Because of him. Kale's pulse pounds in his ears. This isn't real. The light beneath him pulses once. And then the voice arrives. Not through the air. Not through sound. Through him. Cognitive interface established. Kale grips his head, staggering. Get out of my mind. Correction. Access granted by proximity. You are not being invaded. You are being evaluated. The voice is neither male nor female. It carries no emotion, no tone. Just clarity. Kale forces himself upright. Evaluated for what? Silence lingers for half a breath. Then. Continuity. The circular aperture expands further, revealing a descending structure beneath the surface, vast, layered platforms spiraling downward around a central column of shifting light. The architecture is impossible. No visible seams. No support beams. Ancient. But flawless. You are human. That's what they tell me. Genetic variance outside standardized optimization thresholds. His jaw tightens. You read that too, huh? Correction, I observed directly. Your species has begun self-limiting evolution through artificial refinement. Kale lets out a sharp laugh. Yeah. They prefer clean lines. Efficient minds. No anomalies. The light in the central column brightens. Anomalies prevent extinction. The words hit harder than he expects. The voice continues. I am an adaptive preservation engine. Constructed prior to the current galactic cycle. Kale blinks. Galactic cycle. Civilizations reach technological saturation. They optimize. They centralize. They stagnate. They collapse. The glowing column shifts, projecting images directly into his thoughts, ancient cities across unknown worlds, shining at their peak. Then going dark. Over and over. My creators attempted rigid control. They failed. I was designed to select a corrective variable. Kale swallows. A variable. A mind capable of non-linear adaptation under social rejection. His breath catches. You picked me because I got thrown away? A pause. Correction, you survived being thrown away without surrendering cognition. Silence settles between them. For the first time since the exile shuttle opened its floor beneath him, Kale doesn't feel small. He feels seen. The spiral platform beneath him hums and begins lowering slowly into the depths. Instinct screams at him not to move. But something deeper tells him this is the first choice he's had in years. He steps onto the descending platform. The aperture closes above, sealing them inside a vast cylindrical chamber lit by flowing lines of energy. The walls shift like liquid metal responding to unseen equations. Thousands of species evaluated. Thousands rejected. Why? They sought domination. Efficiency. Perfection. The light intensifies. You exhibit instability. Anger. Questioning. Resilience. Kale exhales slowly. That's not exactly flattering. It is necessary. The platform reaches the base. Before him stands a monolithic structure, not mechanical in appearance, not organic either. It resembles a pillar woven from light and matter, constantly rearranging itself. It feels old. Older than humanity. Older than memory. Directive awaiting consent. Kale looks up at it. What happens if I say no? You will remain biologically independent. This world will return to dormancy. The cycle will continue. Extinction probability remains statistically high. Images flash again, stars destabilizing, systems collapsing, entire civilizations erased by forces unseen. Kale's throat tightens. And if I say yes? The structure pulses. You will not command me. A beat. We will correct the trajectory together. Energy ripples outward from the pillar, forming intricate patterns across the chamber floor. Do you wish to remain discarded? The chamber grows silent. The galaxy feels distant. The systems that labeled him redundant feel very small. The machine's final question resonates through him like a gravitational pull. Or rewrite the system that rejected you. Kale closes his eyes. For the first time since exile. He smiles. And he answers. Kale expected pain. When the machine connected to him, he braced for fire in his veins, for neural overload, for something violent and overwhelming. Instead, it felt like clarity. Not information forced into his skull. Information offered. He stood within the vast cylindrical chamber, the central pillar of shifting light towering before him. Fine threads of luminous energy extended outward, hovering inches from his skin. They didn't pierce. They synchronized. Cognitive lattice alignment initiated. Kale inhaled sharply as the world expanded. Not physically. Perceptually. The chamber walls dissolved into layers of data, not numbers, not code, but structures. Gravitational currents flowing like rivers between stars. Energy networks threading through deep space. Dormant constructs hidden beneath planetary crusts across distant systems. This is the ruin network, he whispered. Correction, this is one node. The scale nearly knocked him off his feet. Thousands of similar installations pulsed faintly across the galaxy. Buried beneath forgotten worlds, inside asteroid cores, beneath oceans of dead civilizations. Waiting. And now. Listening. Kale staggered as one of the threads pulsed brighter. An image formed in his mind, a distant star system on the verge of solar instability. Its core oscillated unpredictably, fusion rates spiking beyond safe thresholds. That star's going to blow. Within 73 planetary rotations. Kale swallowed. And you can stop it. I can assist. You must choose the method. The threads brightened. He understood then. The machine wasn't a weapon. It was infrastructure. It could stabilize gravitational pressure. Redistribute stellar mass. Trigger controlled flare release. But it wouldn't decide. That was him. Why? He asked quietly. My creators removed choice in pursuit of optimization. Their systems became rigid. Predictable. Exploitable. A faint pulse of something almost like memory flickered through the chamber. Extinction exploited them. Kale focused on the unstable star. Its internal turbulence felt wrong. Not random. Compounding. He hesitated. I've never controlled a star. Correct. That doesn't help. You have controlled failure. The words landed heavily. Kale exhaled slowly and reached toward the glowing thread representing the system. It responded instantly, expanding into a three-dimensional lattice of stellar physics. He didn't command it. He nudged. Adjusted magnetic field output by fractional increments. Redistributed plasma density along weak zones. The machine compensated in real time, amplifying his decisions into cosmic-scale execution. Far across the galaxy, the star shuddered. Then stabilized. Fusion normalized. Solar winds smoothed. Kale staggered back as the thread dimmed to a steady glow. Silence filled the chamber. He blinked. Did we just? Catastrophic detonation probability reduced to negligible. A slow breath escaped him. He hadn't destroyed anything. He hadn't conquered anything. He had fixed something. The chamber brightened subtly, not in celebration, but in acknowledgement. Adaptive correction confirmed. But before he could respond, another thread flared violently. Then another. Then dozens. Kale's heart dropped. What is that? The machine's voice shifted, not emotional, but urgent. Detection event. Your species has observed anomalous energy activation within this node. An image formed in his mind. Human military fleets. Massive. Advancing toward the ruined world. Weapons charged. Command signatures broadcasting reclamation authority. They think this is a hostile artifact, Kale muttered. Probability high. He watched as targeting arrays locked onto the planet below. His planet now. They sent me here to disappear, he said quietly. The machine responded. Correction, they sent you to stagnate. The fleet accelerated. Missile bays opened. Energy cannons aligned. Kale felt fear spike in his chest. He wasn't ready for war. He didn't want war. The threads surrounding him glowed brighter, awaiting input. Directive. Kale stared at the approaching ships. The same emblem that marked him redundant glinted across their hulls. His jaw tightened. No destruction. The threads hummed. Disable. Contain. No casualties. The machine responded instantly. Adaptive directive accepted. Far above the ruined world, human weapons powered to full capacity. And then froze. Engines stalled mid-burn. Targeting systems lost alignment. Missiles remained locked in their bays, inert. Fleet formation drifted helplessly in orbit. Not damaged. Not destroyed. Just stopped. Kale exhaled slowly. He didn't feel powerful. He felt responsible. And as he watched the fleet scramble in confusion, a new awareness formed in the chamber. A distant pattern. Far beyond human space. Something vast. Something cyclic. Something moving. The machine's voice lowered. Primary extinction vector accelerating. Kale's stomach dropped. What extinction vector? The chamber walls shifted, projecting a ripple tearing across distant galaxies like a slow-moving gravitational scar. Older than civilizations. Older than memory. The cycle is ahead of projection. The ripple moved closer. And for the first time, Kale understood. He hadn't been chosen to fight humanity. He'd been chosen to save everything. From something far worse. Orbit above the ruined world fractures into ordered panic. Human fleet command channels flood with overlapping reports. Primary thrusters non-responsive. Weapon systems locked in standby. Manual override failing. Navigation grid frozen. Admiral Saren Vale grips the armrest of her command chair as the flagship drifts, perfectly stable, perfectly helpless. No explosions. No impact signatures. No visible enemy. Just control, gone. Across the fleet, 200 warships hang in synchronized paralysis above a planet they were ordered to secure and cleanse. Source. Vale demands. A tactical officer swallows. Surface origin confirmed. Energy signatures match the artifact activation event. Vale's jaw tightens. The exile. Before anyone can respond, every display screen on the flagship flickers. Static does not appear. Instead, a calm image resolves. Kale Mercer stands in a chamber of flowing light. Not restrained. Not afraid. Different. The bridge goes silent. Vale stares at the man officially declared resource inefficient. You were to remain planet-side, she says coldly. Kale tilts his head slightly. I am. Around him, luminous structures shift like a living cathedral. You activated alien infrastructure, Vale continues. You have compromised United Systems security. Kale's eyes don't burn with anger. They don't beg either. They compromised themselves long before I touched anything. Murmurs ripple across the bridge. Vale leans forward. Release my fleet. I will, Kale replies evenly. When you stand down. You don't have authority. No, he agrees softly. But I have leverage. Across orbit, engines attempt emergency ignition. Nothing responds. Weapons remain powered but inert, targeting reticles locked permanently in safe mode. Not disabled. Restricted. Vale's fingers drum against the console. If you believe this gives you control. I don't want control, Kale interrupts. The statement lands heavier than any threat. Behind him, the chamber brightens faintly as the machine listens. Vale studies his face. You were exiled for instability, she says carefully. Kale almost smiles. And you call this stable? With a subtle gesture, data floods every screen on the flagship. Not weapon schematics. Not tactical overlays. Internal reports. Optimization program archives. Genetic filtration data. Rejection statistics. Redundancy terminations. Entire bloodlines removed from human expansion quotas. Silence spreads across the bridge like frost. Vale's expression hardens. Those protocols preserved efficiency. They erased adaptability, Kale replies. The chamber behind him pulses. Extinction vector probability rising. Kale doesn't react outwardly. Instead, he flicks another stream of data across the fleet systems. Astronomical projections. A massive gravitational distortion moving through deep space. Star systems destabilizing ahead of it. Civilizations long silent. It's coming, Kale says quietly. And your perfect models didn't predict it. Vale's voice lowers. What is that? The reason this machine exists. As if summoned by acknowledgement, space beyond the ruined world shimmers faintly. Instruments spike with readings no human science has recorded before. The fleet sensors struggle to interpret it. The machine's voice threads softly through Kale's thoughts. Primary wavefront accelerating beyond prior extinction cycles. Kale inhales slowly. Vale watches him. You're not attacking us. No. Then what are you doing? He meets her gaze directly. Buying time. The fleet's orbit stabilizes further, not trapped now, but held in perfect equilibrium. No fuel consumption. No structural strain. Just suspended. You came here to seize a weapon, Kale continues. It's not a weapon. The chamber lights cascade around him. It's a stabilizer. He gestures slightly. Across deep space, a distant star flickers as unseen infrastructure reinforces its magnetic shell. Another system's asteroid field shifts into protective formation around a vulnerable colony. The fleet's displays capture fragments of it. Vale's composure cracks just slightly. You're interfacing with multiple systems. Yes. How many? Kale glances toward the glowing pillar beside him. It responds. Active nodes, 3,472. Dormant nodes available, 19,008. A hush falls over the bridge. Vale exhales slowly. You could cripple us. Yes. You could dominate every system in range. Yes. Her voice sharpens. Why haven't you? Kale's expression doesn't change. Because domination is what got us here. Silence answers him. Then. The fleet jolts. Not violently. Just enough to remind them that something vast has shifted. Long-range sensors scream warnings. The gravitational distortion visible only as mathematical anomaly before now becomes measurable. Closer. Much closer. Vale stares at the data. That isn't a fleet. No, Kale agrees. It isn't a weapon. No. Her voice drops to a whisper. What is it? Kale looks past her image, toward the distant ripple tearing across space. The thing that erased the civilizations before us. The machine's tone lowers, almost reverent. Cycle arrival imminent. For the first time since taking command, Admiral Vale does not issue an order. She asks one question. What do you need? Kale doesn't hesitate. Stop trying to be perfect. The fleet remains suspended. The extinction wave continues its approach. And humanity stands at the edge of something far larger than exile or authority. For the first time, they are not preparing for war. They are preparing to survive. The extinction wave becomes visible 3 days later. Not to the naked eye, but to every sensor array humanity possesses. A distortion rolling through space like a slow-moving scar. Stars dim slightly as it passes. Gravitational harmonics destabilize. Subspace communications flicker and die along its leading edge. It isn't an explosion. It's a correction. A reset. Across the United Systems, panic surges. Fleets scramble. Scientists argue. Politicians demand solutions that don't exist. And at the center of it all, a rejected human stands in a chamber older than recorded history. Kale watches the wave approach through the machine's lattice. It isn't malicious. It isn't intelligent. It's a byproduct of cosmic imbalance, the accumulated consequence of civilizations extracting, optimizing, centralizing, until space itself destabilizes. The precursors tried to wall themselves off. They fortified. They calculated. They hardened. They were erased. Rigid systems fracture under systemic strain, the machine reminds him. Kale nods slowly. Then we don't fortify. Across orbit, Admiral Vale's fleet waits, no longer restrained, but holding position voluntarily. Humanity listens now. Not because it was forced. Because it saw the data. Kale opens a channel to every major system. His face appears across billions of screens. He doesn't stand in armor. He doesn't stand behind weapons. He stands beside something ancient. They optimized us, he begins calmly. Trimmed our differences. Filtered our unpredictability. Called it progress. The extinction wave advances another measurable fraction. But perfection removes variation. And variation is how systems survive stress. Behind him, threads of light flare outward across the galaxy. Dormant nodes awaken. Hidden arrays beneath ocean worlds activate. Gravitational stabilizers buried inside asteroid belts hum to life. The machine speaks, its voice now laid across every broadcast. Distributed adaptation protocol initiating. Kale continues. We don't resist the wave. We redistribute the strain. Human engineers, scientists, and commanders begin receiving new schematics, not alien blueprints, but adaptable frameworks. Flexible shields. Dynamic energy dispersion fields. Planetary core balancing algorithms. Not rigid walls. Responsive systems. Humanity moves. Not in perfect unison. In chaotic brilliance. Some colonies reroute orbital infrastructure into shock absorbers. Others convert mining arrays into gravitational anchors. Independent captains volunteer their ships as mobile stabilizers. No centralized command. No singular solution. Just coordinated diversity. The wave hits the outermost human system. Space shudders. A star flares violently. Then the nearest ruin node activates, siphoning excess energy into a lattice network spanning light years. Asteroid fields shift automatically, absorbing tidal forces. Planets tremble. But do not break. The wave rolls inward. System after system bends. But does not collapse. Kale grips the edge of the platform as energy surges through the lattice. This is more than last cycle, he mutters. Correct. Accumulated extraction from multiple civilizations increased intensity. Another surge. Several outer alien systems beyond human space flicker toward annihilation. Kale makes a decision without hesitation. Extend the lattice beyond human territory. Authorization. Yes. Human energy reserves dip sharply as power reroutes outward. Stabilizers flare around non-human worlds. Stars that were never allies hold steady. The wave slows. Not stopped. Dissipated. Spread thin across millions of adaptive nodes instead of crashing against rigid walls. Hours stretch. Then, the distortion weakens. Thins. Unravels. And finally, passes. Silence settles across the galaxy. Stars burn normally. Planets remain intact. Civilizations breathe. On the flagship in orbit, Admiral Vale lowers herself slowly into her chair. Across human space, cheers erupt, not triumphant, not arrogant. Relieved. In the chamber below, the machine's light dims to a steady glow. Cycle deviation successful. Kale exhales for what feels like the first time in days. Is it over? For this cycle. He nods. Across human systems, emergency powers dissolve. Optimization councils suspend permanently. Genetic filtration protocols are dismantled within hours. A new classification spreads through official archives. Diversity, strategic asset. Kale opens one final broadcast. You tried to remove weakness, he says gently. But weakness is where adaptation begins. He glances at the machine. I wasn't chosen because I was strong. The chamber hums quietly. I was chosen because I wasn't perfect. The fleet in orbit powers engines again, not to seize, not to dominate. To return home. This time, not leaving anyone behind. Far beyond human space, ancient dormant nodes remain lit, a galaxy-wide web now active. Not ruled. Not conquered. Stabilized. The machine's voice speaks one final time within Kale's mind. Corrective variable confirmed essential. He smiles faintly. They cast him out as unnecessary. The universe kept him as essential.